And welcome to Hannity. We start tonight with a Fox News alert. After 8 long months stranded in space, 2 American astronauts will soon, thankfully, be coming home, but not tonight. Elon Musk's SpaceX postponed the launch of its Falcon 9 rocket because of a small hydraulic issue. But soon, the 2 stranded Americans will be retrieved, and that'll be in the very near future. 4 other astronauts will take their place at the International Space Station, and this will be a historic rescue operation. Now, according to Musk and one of the stranded American astronauts, it could have all happened months and months ago, if not for Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. Then President Biden turned down Elon Musk's offer to make the rescue because of political reasons. They didn't want to give the win to Donald Trump. And yet, according to radical far-left Democrats, well, the guy bringing home our stranded astronauts is a villain. You should not like him. In fact, some on the radical left are calling for Elon Musk. This is getting really pathetic, and these people need to be discovered and arrested and prosecuted. They're calling for his assassination. Others committing acts of outright terrorism against Tesla, dealerships, torching vehicles and charging stations, even shooting into showrooms. In London, a group of far-left nutjobs pouring liquid latex over Tesla's state-of-the-art robot, referring to it as a Nazi robot. So why? Ask yourself, why do they hate Elon Musk? What, for giving free communications to the victims of Hurricane Helene in North Carolina when they had no connection with the outside world? Or wildfire victims in California, for building a 1,000 horsepower, self-driving, an electric car that is the most American-made car in the country, for simply helping President Trump for free, exposing waste, fraud, abuse, corruption inside our government. But the even bigger nut jobs on MSNBC, our old friends, Liberal Joe and company, they don't seem to have a problem with any of the left's extremism. Instead, they are distraught that violent arsonists and rioters might be tried as terrorists. Take a look.
But then you also overnight have this post claiming that protests at Tesla dealerships are illegal. He said today he would label violence against dealerships domestic terrorism. So just to be clear, you protest a private company, you are labeled by this administration a domestic terrorist.
No, they are shooting. They're shooting bullets into showrooms. They're threatening assassination. They are burning cars. They are burning charging stations. Yeah, that would be a little different if you want to tell the truth at MSNBC. Of course, this is NBC News. But according to Democrats, if you walked into the Capitol building on January 6th, everybody deserved to be locked up for years and years and years. But, of course, the summer of 2020, the 574 riots that killed dozens, injured thousands of cops, caused billions in property damage. Oh, Kamala Harris, their candidate of choice, they're not going to stop rioting. They shouldn't stop rioting, and we're not going to stop supporting them. But if you shoot at a Tesla dealership, you blow up a Cybertruck, what, that's a peaceful protest and should be honored and respected as free speech? The left is up in arms over Elon Musk, the guy whose company is attempting to rescue American astronauts stranded in space by Joe and Kamala. And if Democrats hate Trump and Musk that much, maybe they should just follow old Rosie O'Donnell's lead. That's right. Sad news for the 12 or 13 or 14 Rosie O'Donnell fans across the country. As we showed you last night, she is no longer living in the U.S. of A. in a desperate attempt to calm her anti-Trump rage. The fact that she's been triggered. Rosie is now moved to Ireland. And this was funny. Today, during a joint press conference at the White House, Ireland's prime minister was asked about his country's newest resident. Let's take a look at this.
Ireland is known for very happy, fun-loving people, great attitude, many in this room right now that I've met. Why in the world would you let Rosie O'Donnell move to Ireland? I think she's going to lower your happiness level.
That's true. Thank you. I like that question. Do you know you have Rosie O'Donnell? Do you know who she is? Do you know who she is?
Yeah.
You're better off not knowing.
You're better off not knowing. Having been on The View with her, I actually agree with the president. Now, the president was in rare form today during a wide-ranging, frankly, entertaining press conference. Let's take a look.
Go ahead. Are you going to retaliate against me? And by the way, I have to speak of inflation. I love these socks. What's with these socks?
It's in honor of the T-shirts.
I'm trying to stay focused, but I'm very impressed with the VP's socks.
I can't even see the socks. I don't know what they look like. Anyway, President Trump clearly upbeat, and for good reason. In less than 2 months, a recurring theme has emerged from his second term. It's simple, but it's profound. Promises made, promises kept. Let's start at the border, where illegal immigration has almost completely stopped, all while deportations are way up. Unlike the old border czar, and unlike Alejandro Mayorkas, Tom Homan and Kristi Noem actually know what they're doing. They're making no apologies for protecting the American people. Take a look.
You know, I always hear all the time, family separation. Homan's the godfather saying family separation. Let me be clear. Zero tolerance is about saving lives. Because we figure we start prosecuting people who violate the law and put the children in harm's way, maybe they stop coming. And they did. The numbers went down. It's unfortunate families got separated. But it happens to American families every day. It's going to happen in Albany today that an American family will be separated by law enforcement because the child can't go to jail with the parent. But we want to talk about family separation? 500,000 children on Joe Biden were trafficked into this country. They can't find 300,000 of them. That's a separation. But you know what? President Trump's committed. We're going to find them, and we're going to save them.
It's over 300,000. And by the way, he was heckled on his way into meeting some of these New York politicians. And border czar Tom Homan will join us straight ahead tonight. But this brings us to yet another major promise made and promise kept by President Donald Trump. Tonight, I am happy to report prices are coming down. That includes the cost of gas, which hasn't been this cheap in the month of March since 2021. Look at this. Dramatically, egg prices are also plummeting. They are now cheaper than when Donald Trump took office. Bye-bye left-wing talking point. Interest rates on mortgages, they're also down, now dropping for the 6th consecutive week and driving a spike in the real estate market. Overall inflation is now down, with a new report that we're even better than expected. And American manufacturing is once again on the rise, but don't take my word for it. This is what several business leaders and even fake news CNN are saying about the economy. You decide.
Manufacturing is back. If you believe that a supply chain bringing parts of cars across the border with Mexico or Canada 7 times, and this is efficient, this is not. This is insanity. We've got to build in America. We've got to produce things here.
Finally, we have some good news on the economy and really the #1 issue for many Americans, the cost of living. So we just learned that consumer prices in February increased by 2.8% year over year, 0.2% month over month. Both of these figures were a step in the right direction, and both were better than expected. So this is definitely very encouraging to see.
One of the things that I do like is that the president is engaged with the business community. The administration is engaged with the business community. And that's a different experience than what we've had over the course of the last 4 years.
And because of the president's policies, Nissan and Honda, they were both going to build manufacturing centers in Mexico. Now they're moving them to the U.S. Apple is committed to now investing $500 billion in 4 years in Texas, building out a facility down there that will create tens of thousands of jobs. A Taiwanese chip company, they're going to spend $100 million right here in the U.S. As it turns out, the ongoing trade negotiations are not causing the sky to fall, as some on the left have predicted. Instead, Canada, the EU are being held accountable for their unfair trade practices. And that brings us to an ongoing Hannity investigation, and that's into tariffs and taxes. This is information the mainstream corrupt legacy media mob will never tell you. Keep in mind, Canada claims to be a proponent of free trade, but they have consistently levied maximum tariffs of 298% for our butter, 245% for our cheese, 241% for our milk. What about dairy farmers in Wisconsin? Should we not stand up for them? Canada also imposes a 5% value-added tax or national sales tax on pretty much almost everything imported from the U.S., and it's even worse with the European Union, a value-added tax ranging from 8% to over 25%. The EU has also long imposed a 5.5% tariff on all U.S. goods, so President Trump is rightly negotiating a better deal so prices will go down for you, the American people. Is he supposed to sit there and just take it like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and do nothing? Meanwhile, he's incentivizing all of this new manufacturing in the U.S. And let's also be clear, as we have seen over and over again, it'd never be a good idea to bet against Donald Trump. How many bet against Zelensky coming back? A lot of people. How many people like us were telling you he'll be back, and he was, and he will be, and guess what? These countries will negotiate, and you'll pay less. Now, this was a president who oversaw what was record-breaking in terms of the economy in his first terms. Historic gains in the economy. Look at those gains right there, thanks to our friend Steve Moore, who will join us in a minute. Record gains for the S&P, record gains for the NASDAQ. But apparently the Democratic Party wants to shut it all down. Never mind the fact that he created record low after record low unemployment levels for every demographic: African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, women in the workplace, African American youth unemployment. Senate Democrats, they are now planning to block the House funding bill, shut down the government on Friday. This will be called the Schumer shutdown. Get used to that. Don't forget this, this is their economic plan. We are currently living under the Democrats and the Biden and Harris economy. We need the CR to fund the government. They didn't fund the government. Schumer never passed a single budget last year. He and his fellow Democrats and Biden and Harris, they are responsible for all of this. Now, Friday, if the government does shut down, this will be on the Schumer radical Democrats. It will be the Schumer shutdown. Schumer lives in fear and is capitulating to a radicalized party that refused to stand for the president at the joint session. They wouldn't even stand for the first lady. They wouldn't stand for mothers of slain children. They wouldn't stand for a young man that survived cancer or the wife of a slain officer. And Schumer and Jeffries orchestrated their silly, stupid bingo card paddle response to the president's address to the joint session. They can't stand for working men and women. They're not going to fight for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. The president has pledged to protect Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. The only thing Schumer and company applauded for was endless war in Europe. That was it. And now, according to Democrats and their own words, all these innocent Americans will suffer because they hate Donald Trump more than they care about government workers, and they will cause this shutdown. But, however, if my memory serves me well, if I don't have Joe Biden-itis yet, Democrats used to think that government shutdowns are the worst thing on earth. Wow. Now, with the pending Schumer shutdown, I guess things have changed. Let's remind you.
When the senator from Texas shut this government down in 2013, my state was flooded. It was underwater.
We all knew together that a government shutdown will be devastating for this country.
We are now less than a month away from a potential government shutdown.
Democrats use a government shutdown as a political tool to protest Donald Trump and Elon Musk's efforts to defund and dismantle government agencies.
The strategy is to do whatever we can to stop Donald Trump.
So let's end this little monologue, shall we, with another question other than hating Donald Trump. The Democrats truly believe in anything besides the right of men to play women's sports, the rights of illegal immigrants over the safety of you, the American people, the right to waste hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars abroad on their radical DEI, woke, transgender radicalism? Or do they just have a constant thirst for power, using your money for their influence?